Hello again and welcome to MLR Weekly as presented by Rugby Wrap-Up. Matt McCarthy in New York City. Thanks for joining us. We have another great show. We have Harry Baker, the two-time World Rugby Sevens Player of the Year. We have Bryan Ray of America's Rugby News. We have John Fitzpatrick of Rugby Morning's Coffee Break. So don't go anywhere. Rugby Wrap-Up's MLR Weekly brought to you by Sheehy Auto Stores. It's easy at Sheehy. The Pig and Whistle, New York City. The world's best rugby pub. And Lean and Limber, stretching your way to a healthier lifestyle. Let's get it started with John Fitzpatrick calling in from Washington, D.C. with his recurring segment, Rugby Morning's Coffee Break. John, welcome back. How are you, and what do you got?
Man, I'm feeling great. I watched some of that Jake Paul, Mike Tyson fight when it wasn't glitching. Spellbounding. Anyway, Matt, we got to talk about that USA Men's Eagles win over Tonga. Did you see a 36-17 whooping?
I did not.
Putting on Tonga?
I did not, and you know the odds were stacked against the team from the USA. They hadn't beaten them since 1999. They were playing on foreign soil, and I think it was Chambly, France, right? Cohesive, complete win, and AJ McGinty looked every bit the world-class player that he is.
And you should also probably give some kudos to Ruben de Haas. You gave him some grief on last week's episode for kicking the ball. He played particularly well. But
well, I did apologize at the end of the show last week because Bryan Ray corrected me, having watched the game a number of times, and he said Ruben had no other option. You said the same thing, but I didn't believe you. Brian's got more credibility. No offense. Next.
Okay, well, we got to call out a couple other players first. MLR players here. How about Jason Dom and Jack Esquaro dotting down? I know you don't like that phrase, but dotting down for the men's.
Dots it down.
Where have I heard that before? But how about your boy, Dom Bizag, knocking off two Tongan defenders to score a try? Good on for the youngster.
Yeah, maybe some MLR team is going to come a-calling, right? We'll talk later about somebody else that might get a call from the MLR after the show, but continue, please.
Well, Matt, that might be a good segue to talk a little bit about the first thing they tell you in journalism school is don't bury the lead. I think.
Did you go to journalism school?
I flunked out after I had a modifying dangling thing or something like that.
Dangling participle?
Yeah, something like that. But
there's a salve for that.
Major League Rugby released their schedule. The schedule's out. A couple people have got some issues with it. I'm sure you and Bryan Ray are going to cover it a little bit more later in the episode. USRPA has some issues with the timing of a few games kind of stacked up there.
Yeah.
Your thoughts quickly?
Bryan and I we'll look at it in more depth, but it's got some quirks. It's got games every night of the week this year for the first time, including Tuesday and Wednesday nights. On the schedule, it had it as Tuesday mornings. So don't be alarmed, folks. There's some tweaks that have to be made in the coming days, and maybe some further discussions. But anything stand out for you?
Well, yeah, I mean, look, there'll be some tweaks, and they'll get through it. And look, they're going to play rugby come February 15th, and I just hope you and the missus don't have plans on Valentine's Day weekend because MLR starts Week 1, and let's start off with a couple of good ones here. How about the Miami Sharks Old Glory DC? That's the first game of the 2025 season. And how about
I'd love to call that game, everybody out there. Hint, hint. I'd love to call that one. Okay. Go ahead, John.
Okay. Well. Chris and Paul, if you're listening, Matt is available.
Well, it's an away game for DC. But in Miami, I'm on the East Coast, folks. It's less travel. Just saying. Love to do it. But that's not what we're here to talk about. Continue, John.
No. I mean, there's a couple there's a number of good games here in Week 1, of course. The new look Anthem. They're taking on Nola Gold. Nola Gold, of course, signing on Caleb Mockney from the Utah Warriors. Nola Gold's made a lot of big changes.
Pickup.
A massive pickup. He's a dynamic player. That'll be a fun one. Later on that night, the Houston SaberCats with their new logo and their new colors or whatever, taking on the Chicago Hounds. That's going to be a fun one. I mean, you could just go on and on. San Diego Legion now, not playing at Snapdragon Stadium anymore. Matt, do you know where they're playing?
Torero.
Yeah, that's right. They're
which
going
I
back.
believe is the San Diego State Stadium, and it was where the first championship was, and even the second, I believe, in MLR history.
And I bring up San Diego because I know you're talking with Perry Baker in a little bit. Chula Vista's just down the street there. Perry Baker, is he picking up the phone? A couple of calls from an MLR team?
I can definitively tell you that in the next segment we will discuss it, and I will get to the bottom of it. And I bet you that somebody calls Perry Baker from the MLR.
Ooh, I wonder.
Cliffhanger, folks. That's a cliffhanger.
That's a good cliffhanger. I wonder who else might get a call. Perhaps maybe his former USA men's sevens teammate, Kayvon Williams, who recently just announced his retirement from the sevens program. I mean, he's still got a lot of left in him, too. I wouldn't be surprised if an MLR team, maybe Anthem, picks up the phone and says, hey, Kayvon, you want to come play MLR? Why not?
The other thing, too, about him is he was the captain of that team, and leadership is something on his resume, right? On and off the pitch, he would be a great pickup for some team. So, what else?
Well, Matt, that is it. There was one thing that I wanted to cover, and how about the world's most famous rugby player, of course, Alona Mar, has advanced to the finals of Dancing with the Stars.
More famous than Antoine Dupont?
Oh, yeah, she's got more followers than Antoine Dupont.
All right. Yeah, John, that's great news about Alona, right? I mean, going through to the final.
Of course.
That's amazing.
She's got a shot to win it. This is she's on a team where you can't count them out. They could be down by a try with less than 8 seconds left in a bronze medal match and come back and win it. So why couldn't she win the final?
Exactly. And the Paso Doble this week was stunning. Absolutely stunning.
I was a bigger fan of the Viennese waltz, but that's just me.
Well, I got to tell you, I know a little bit about the Paso Doble because that was our wedding dance. When we came into the reception, we did the Paso Doble. How you
and Mrs.
doing?
McCarthy.
How you doing?
What a love story.
That's right. It's written in love. It's written in love. All right, John Fitzpatrick, thank you very much, sir, for coming on. Don't go away. We have Mr. Perry Baker coming up next after this.
Like a demented mole there.
Need a great price on a new vehicle? Sheehy makes it easy. Easy Price shows you our lowest prices on the Mid-Atlantic's largest selection. Find your best price online or at any of our 31 dealerships.
It's easy at Sheehy. Sheehy.com.
You need your cleats? You need them tomorrow? If you order today by 3 p.m. New York time or noon LA time, they can have them to you tomorrow. Young, old, male, female, if you're playing on turf, if you're playing on grass, if you're playing in the rain, you're playing in the heat, they've got you covered. RugbyNow.com. Go there now.
And we're back. And ladies and gentlemen, stop the presses, hold the phone. We have none other than Speed Stick, Mr. Perry Baker on MLR Weekly. Perry, welcome back to MLR Weekly.
Appreciate it, Matt. Thanks for having me, man. It's been a while.
Are you really retired, Perry? Are you really retired?
Yeah, man, I'm done for sure. I'm definitely done. My mom's been on this for some time now. I want to say for definitely the last 3 years, I've been thinking about being done.
But you live in San Diego, and on the rugby odds with John Bradshaw Layfield, who we'll bring up in a moment, you could be playing for the San Diego Legion. The short money is on you going with San Diego, but if you want to go with a long bet, it is indeed the Miami Sharks because you're from the Florida Daytona area, right?
I'm going San Diego with the grass, man. I mean, my family's here, and this is home for me now, and they're so close, but let's see what happens with that path.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we just heard it here. San Diego Legion happy to sign Perry Baker. Congratulations. Welcome to the MLR, Perry.
Oh, my goodness.
Breaking news. Breaking news. It's going to go out there. It's going out there, baby. It's going to be banging on Reddit. You're already there. So you might as well set your retirement speech for 3 years from now.
Nah, man. I'm definitely done with international sevens for real and international travel for sure with playing.
What is the future for USA Sevens without the likes of a Perry Baker and your crop of players?
The boys are so young right now. Like USA went from being one of the most oldest and experienced team on the series to now the youngest and the least experienced on the series. So the sky is the limit for these guys. I mean, the boys are driven. They're excited. They're ready to play. Like, the program has changed all the way around, and I'm excited to see where these boys are gonna go, because I just know, like, when I first came in, it was one whole big net of guys that was growing together, and I see these guys on the same path of growing together and building. And if you look at Argentina, those guys was together for a long time, and they peaked right before the Olympic Games, you know, versus this group here. They're coming together, they're new, and the time for them to really peak is at the next Olympic Games. So I think a lot of this group and the talent that's there, because when you think about USA Rugby, the talent was always there, and it's still there. We have a lot of talent, you know, so it was just good to get a change of everything for that group, and I just think that the boys will do well, you know, like, and right now, like, I don't know who's expecting the boys to win the series or whatnot, but I definitely expect the boys to stay in the top 8.
293 tries you scored, which ranks first amongst Americans and second among all international players in tries scored. And you're 7th on the all-time point scoring list with, I think, 1,467 points. Yet, the key statistic here is that you didn't take the pitch for Team USA until you were 28 years old. Do you ever, or is it a constant pondering of how many points or tries you would have scored if, say, you started at 24 and instead of playing professional football, you went right to rugby?
Sometimes it crossed my mind, because I just be telling my story. Like, I tried to come down to the national team twice before I actually got the chance with Mike Friday. I tried to come down under Al Calaveri, and I tried to come down under Alex Malgby, and it didn't happen. So I just think about timing is everything. So it kind of like is there, then it goes away. But now I just think about, like, if I could freaking had the skills to kick, I could just turn around and kick under the post several times.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know what I mean? So then I could have got points that way.
293 times to be exact.
Rugby is a young man's sport. And what I mean by that, like, in the 20s, early 30s, I'm on the back end of my 30s. Can I still play? Yes. But what I started to find out was it just took longer for my body to recover. And I just know, like, after we played in back-to-back, I think it was back-to-back we played LA, then we played in Vancouver. And after those back-to-back legs, my body was shocked for like that entire week. It took me like a week and a half almost to like feel good and like get my legs back under me. And it was like, that was a shocker to me, because I never had felt that way before, no matter how much I've played. But I just started thinking, like, is this what they mean by your body start to get older and everything? But yeah, man, so it was just like, Jesus, like, it just took too much on the body with all these playing back to back and all these minutes. So when I was time to be done, I'm like, I'm done. I'm not looking forward to that again, to like feel that type of way.
That's sevens where you can't hide on the pitch. And 15s, take it from me, you can hide on the pitch. So, you know, San Diego, it's great.
Sure.
You know,
yeah.
Nice.
I see that, though. That's why I said if I was to play 15s and the opportunity came, I would only want to do it for a year, though. Just 1 year.
All right, Ryan Patterson is just calling me on the hotline here. Ryan, I'll get back to you in a second. We'll get Barry.
Just take a year for us to win the championship. That's it.
That's it, man. That's it. All of, you know, like, hey, it'll be like Aaron Rodgers to the Jets. Oh, wait a minute, that's not.
No, that's different. It'd be like Tom Brady going to the Buccaneers.
Right. There are some dopes out there that think, okay, we can just find 100, 200, 500 Perry Bakers if we just raid the rosters of NFL castoffs that didn't make wide receiver. And I just shake my head. I said, you have no idea, A, of the hard work the guy put in, B, the dedication to the sport, and C, the skill set that you bring. So what do you say to that, to everybody? Oh, well, you know, we get 1,000 Perry Bakers out there. I'm like, what is your take on that?
It's not just getting crossover athletes to come play the sport and thinking that they're just going to dominate the sport. Rugby is such a strategic and thinking game, you know. And for me, I picked up things really fast, and I was always a thinker. And that's the way I played football, is the same way. if someone can run, it doesn't mean they'll be a good rugby player. And what I mean by run, just because they fast don't mean they'll be a good rugby player. A lot of other things go into it, and you kind of hit it on the head. It's like what you put in is what you get out. And like I worked super hard to get where I was. Like, and shout out to Tiger Rugby though, but that's where it kind of transitioned for me because that's where like everything changed.
With
Where
Paul
I'm
Holmes and
spending,
James Walker.
yeah, while I'm spending late nights in the gyms, early morning in the gyms, like rugby ball constantly, where like you leave the gym, you go home, have lunch, and then you're at a pitch kicking a rugby ball around, throwing a footy around. So it's like all that goes in hand. Not saying no one else can't work hard to do it, but everyone's different athletes, man. You're not going to have like you only got one Michael Jordan.
It's a valid point. So it's, there is no magic wand, folks. And it's got to come from within too. Certainly we can expose more players, to the game.
Yeah.
And, last week I was at a combine for the RS Foundation, which is trying to work with the HBCU universities, the historically black colleges and universities, for their rugby schools. There's 128 under the HBCU umbrella, and only 5 are playing right now. And the RS Foundation is trying to branch out and get more of those kids playing in the college realm. And that's an asset that we need to tap into. And that's maybe where we can start finding the next great players, right? And,
sure.
and we're another pool and add to that pool. But that's not taking an NFL cast off and making them into a superstar overnight.
No, not
Right.
at all. Well, I just think the problem will be is, and this is like the big thing for me. And I was asked a question like, if money wasn't a factor, which sport would I rather play? Would I rather play football or rugby? Well, my answer was rugby, but I'm going to go play football because of the money difference.
Make some money.
So when you think about these athletes out there, they're out there, but they're going to go play football first and foremost because of the big difference in the salaries. Like if I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give you peanuts and I'm going to tell this dude I'm going to give you millions of dollars, you finna go for the millions of dollars. So that's just the issue that I feel like we will have because I feel like rugby is much better than football. I played both sports and I was this close to making it to the highest level in football, and I'm made it to the highest level in rugby. So I know both sports and I know what I enjoyed the most, and I just feel like what people would enjoy the most. And when you think about it, everyone grew up saying they play Sandlot football. That's what rugby is. It's just now structured form. And think about how much fun it was and you enjoyed doing it. So if you can start making just some type of money playing rugby, then you will get those athletes that we're actually looking for. Yeah, you might get one here and there, but you think about David Steele. David Steele was a phenomenal athlete, football player. And then David left to go pursue that dream again.
Let's go back to the Paris Games. You guys, France were the ultimate champions. You guys tied them. How did you feel in that match?
We felt good in that match. I mean, for me, pool games were never an issue for me. It was never a factor that we wouldn't make it out the pool, which I don't think a lot of people figure we would make it out of our pool, having the champs that was in our pool, which was France, who was supposed to win it, which they did. And then you have the remaining gold medalists in our pool. We played second, which was Fiji. And then you got Uruguay. So it was like, is USA actually going to make it out of their pool? I doubt it, facing these two teams. But I knew we can make it out of our pool. I wanted to doubt that we could make it out of our pool. And then how the dice rolled, we got them to pool play first game to kick off the Olympics. It's like, what?
Right. How crazy was that? Were you able to, were you losing focus? Could you focus the whole time? I mean, that's a ridiculous question. But
oh yeah, for sure. But it was oh man, the stadium was so packed. And I was like, man, this is what it's about. Like, this is it right here. It's just the experiments and the enjoyment of everything. Like, man, like this is live right now. Like, this lit. So it was fun, man. And like playing against them, like I felt like the pressure wasn't on us, it's on them.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So continuing with the Olympic experience, what was it like watching the women get the medal?
I was actually proud because I didn't go to any other game except the medal game. And it was a great experience. I was so happy for them. It was like what was needed though for America. and for rugby period to get that exposure. And I was just excited for them to get it. And like at the same time, I felt like looking at it, if I was a betting man, I would have betted on them to win a medal. Like looking at the women's series and looking at the women's teams on the series, I would have bet USA to get a medal. Now, I wouldn't have bet them to beat Australia, to be honest with you.
Oh, yeah, no, none of us.
You thinking Australia and New Zealand is going to be 1 and 2, and then you think USA will fall in third by whoever they end up playing, whether it be France or Canada. But hey,
let's talk about now. All right, assuming that you may or may not sign with the San Diego Legion, and you can't fire me, you can't sue me for tampering because I don't have anything to do with the league, and neither do you. So we can speculate. And you're a free agent, so it's all good. What's life for you post playing? I know you got the flag rugby business going. Tell me about that.
Yeah, Flag X, man. So there's two things. So I always been wanting to coach. And then the second thing was I always wanted to give back to the community to actually grow the game, introduce rugby. And Flag X fell in my lap. And it's just a way to introduce the game, but not just introduce the game. It's a way to grow the club so clubs can be sustainable with having fundraisers. So it's an exciting time. And the other part was just coaching, and with Flag X, you're actually a coach. You're coaching the game, you're coaching up the players. So yeah, that's what's next kind of deal.
So walk me through this because it's got different kind of scoring, right? Where you can go off for different points. So walk me through that.
Yeah. So if you think about the series or sevens period or 15s, where you score from is where you have to kick your conversions from. So in Flag X, it's very strategic because where you score from is where you kick from. And there's point values for where you choose to score at. And then where you kick your conversions from.
So you might be running down the middle of the pitch, and everybody on the planet thinks, the illogical choice is to score under the posts, but instead you go score in the corner, so it's a more difficult conversion.
Right, correct. So you get more points.
All right. Okay. Well, Perry, we're running out of time, and before we end, I got two things that I want to say. John Bradshaw Layfield, I think I mentioned him earlier in this interview. He wanted to thank you because he works with at-risk kids. He's been all over the planet. Bermuda, Pacific Rim. He's doing it with Memphis Inner City Rugby. He wanted to thank you because you had some kind words for some of the kids that he was working with, and it said it meant a lot to them. So in a serious moment, I want to thank you on behalf of him for that. All right, Perry Baker, one of the world's best rugby players ever, and you can't find it at a combine. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate that.
All right, we'll be right back after this.
I wouldn't like to be at the bottom of that.
Hey, U.S. fans, you can tune into every match live on Flow Rugby. How do we know that? Because we're on there all the time. If you're in New York City and want to watch some great rugby, have some great food, and some great times, go to the world's best rugby pub, the Pig and Whistle on West 36th Street. This is the Rugby Odds, where an unlikely pundit panel of a wordsmith, a WWE legend, a rugby star, and a supermodel scour the globe, seeking best bets and bad behavior. Are you not entertained?
And we're back with Mr. Bryan Ray of America's Rugby News. The schedule came out earlier this week. Can you walk us through some of the answers that we know now, Bryan?
You got to be honest, it was a sloppy rollout. Lots of incorrect posts on the original schedule that dropped. Miami Sharks are not playing at the big stadium for into Miami. They're playing the same venue as they played last year. That was corrected. The San Diego Legion are not playing at Snapdragon Stadium this year. That's maybe a bit of a surprise for some. They're headed back to their old stomping ground of Torero Stadium. So that's was certainly interesting. And there were a few kickoff times that were, kind of a little bit odd, shall we say, that I think have now been fixed on the schedule. But hey, there's still some interesting things in there, like some midweek games that maybe we didn't expect. A couple of really short turnarounds that may get some altering. We'll see. The Players Association certainly isn't happy about it.
I saw Jamison Fontana Schultz's response to, I think, your tweet or your retweet of something, and he just said, why?
Yeah, I mean, it's clear what the league wanted to do. I mean, we spoke about this before. They wanted to get the regular season out of the way and the playoffs before we hit the July test window, which seems they've accomplished. Maybe not in, the way that people maybe thought. I mean, we've gone back to the mid-February start. We knew about that. Only one bye week. Well, I guess no, there's 2 bye weeks, but
I think DC's got a bye in their second week.
Yeah, some kind of, it's all kind of squished in there. We got the odd number of teams, so that always makes things difficult as well. So certainly there were some complications, and then you've got obviously, venues. You've got to arrange, when are the venues available, and some venues just have, other priorities in there you've got to work with as well. So certainly there are some obstacles there, but I think this might not be the final iteration of the schedule.
All right, that's all good. What else, Brian? You want to change gears a little bit and look at that World Rugby election?
Do we really have to talk about that? It's a little bit depressing.
I think so. Any implications toward the MLR, other than the fact that these second-tier nations are going to be completely ignored?
I can't see a whole lot, really changing for MLR. Alan Gilpin's been the one driving, the sport, which is funny after the criticism he had last time the qualifiers way back when. But, I think that support is pretty much established at this point. I can't see the incoming, Brett Robinson wanting to change that. It's not really his purview, and it'd be Gilpin's investment on behalf of Rugby World Cup Limited. So yeah, I don't think there's going to be any significant changes as far as MLR is concerned with that. I just think overall, as far as tier 2 countries are concerned, it's really disappointing that the candidate who was promising changing the the voting process at the executive level didn't get in. So
the voting, Steve Lewis talking about this, and George Hook talked about this on the Rugby Odds this week, and it's actually a very good segment where they spell out how the election process is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. I completely agree. I mean, how can you have, a country like Spain is always an example who's given so much. They played on the 7 circuit, they've been in a World Cup before, and somehow they don't have any voting rights at all.
Women's and men's.
Yeah, which makes no sense to me whatsoever.
Insane. But I guess that's something that's for another day. Right now, it's the excitement of MLR 8.0. coming out in 2025. We're very much looking forward to that. It's going to be a cracking season. On that note, I want to thank Mr. Bryan Ray of America's Rugby News, Mr. John Fitzpatrick of Rugby Morning, Perry Baker, the try-scoring maker, and thank you for tuning in. Please check out our other shows, including the critically acclaimed The Rugby Odds. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Hey, tell your friends about us and sign up for our weekly newsletter. It won't kill you. And please join our American Red Cross blood donor team.